Marriage is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. Why do some couples thrive while others fall apart? What qualities should you look for in a partner? And how do you keep love alive after years together? In this video, we're going to dive deep into the psychology of marriage, exploring everything from how to choose the right partner to building emotional intimacy, resolving conflicts, and creating a relationship that lasts. Along the way, we'll uncover research-backed insights, practical tips, and timeless wisdom that can help you understand not just marriage, but human connection itself. Whether you're preparing for marriage, already married, or simply curious about the science of love, this is your complete guide to building a strong, fulfilling, and lasting partnership. Let's begin.
I always thought I'd know when I was ready. Like one day, I'd wake up, sip my coffee, and just feel it. This is it. I'm ready to get married. But that feeling never came. Instead, what came was pressure. Everyone around me seemed to be moving. Proposals, wedding shoots, ring selfies, my person captions. Meanwhile, I was still asking myself, what does it even mean to be ready for marriage? Is it about age, stability, timing, or just finding the one? And more importantly, what if I'm not ready and I say yes anyway? Because readiness isn't just about checking boxes. It's about emotional maturity, self-awareness, and knowing what kind of life you're about to build. In this video, you'll learn 7 real signs that you're ready that go beyond age or milestones, the psychology of marital readiness, a story from my cousin who rushed into marriage and what it taught me, plus how to spot the difference between pressure and personal readiness. Whether you're single, dating, or engaged, this will help you get honest with yourself before making one of the biggest decisions of your life. Let me tell you about my cousin, Zara. She got married at 27, not because she felt deeply ready, but because everything looked right. She had a stable job, her parents liked the guy, he was well settled, and they seemed compatible on paper. And for the first few months, everything seemed smooth. But by the time they hit their first major disagreement, about finances of all things cracked. Zara realized she'd never actually discussed money with him, or how they'd divide responsibilities, or how they'd handle conflict. She told me later, "I prepared for the wedding, but I didn't prepare for the marriage." And the truth? She didn't even really know herself outside of being someone's girlfriend or daughter. She hadn't asked, what kind of partner do I want to be? They're still together, but the first year was way harder than it needed to be. Why feeling ready isn't enough? Most of us think readiness is a feeling, but psychologists see it differently. According to Dr. Galena Rhodes, readiness for marriage is less about love and more about individual maturity and relational awareness. There's no perfect formula, but there are key signs. Let's break them down. 7 real signs that you're ready, that go beyond age or milestones. 1. You know who you are outside the relationship. This is number 1 for a reason. If you don't know who you are alone, you'll lose yourself in a relationship. Being ready for marriage means having a sense of self, personal goals and hobbies, boundaries and standards, and emotional regulation. You can't be half a person looking for another half. You need to be whole enough to walk beside someone, not beneath them. Ask yourself, if I took marriage out of the equation, do I still like the life I'm building? 2. You understand that love alone isn't enough. Love is a starting point, not the foundation. You're ready for marriage when you understand that conflict will happen. Romance will ebb and flow. There will be boring days. Real partnership is built on daily decisions, not just feelings. A relationship rooted in friendship, respect, shared values, and trust outlasts one built only on butterflies. 3. You're willing to have uncomfortable conversations. Marriage requires hard conversations. Kids, money, religion, boundaries with in-laws, past trauma, mental health. If you're avoiding these now, you're not ready. Emotional maturity means leaning into discomfort, not running from it. My brother and his fiancée had a 4-hour conversation just about whether they'd keep separate bank accounts. It wasn't romantic, but it was real. That's marriage. 4. You know what you want and what you can compromise. On marriage is about alignment, but no two people are 100% alike. Being ready means knowing what's a deal breaker, example, honesty, religion, lifestyle. What's a preference, example, hobbies, routines, travel style. And what's flexible over time. If you expect someone to match you at everything, you'll always be disappointed. Maturity is knowing where you bend and where you stand firm. 5. You can handle conflict without shutting down or blowing up. It's not about never fighting. It's about how you fight. Do you listen when angry? Pause before reacting. Stay respectful during disagreements. According to John Gottman, couples who handle conflict with gentle starts, accountability, and repair attempts have much higher chances of long-term success. You don't need perfect communication, just conscious communication. 6. You're not just doing it because it's time. This one hurts a little. Because the pressure's real. Everyone's getting married, parents are hinting, society rewards settling down. But being tired of dating isn't a reason to marry. Being afraid of being alone isn't either. You're ready when you'd still choose this path even if no one else was watching. 7. You're choosing a person, not a fantasy. You're not marrying potential. You're marrying a real, flawed, growing human being. You're ready when you can see their habits, their triggers, their values, their reactions under stress, and still choose them, not blindly, but consciously. Because you're not expecting perfection. You're expecting growth. I'm not married, but I've spent years reflecting on this, watching my sister grow through her engagement, watching my cousin stumble, and watching friends walk into marriages for the wrong reasons. And what I've learned is this: marriage doesn't require certainty. It requires clarity about who you are, what you need, and what you're building. You don't have to know everything, but you have to know yourself. And if you're still figuring that out, that's okay. Marriage is not a finish line. It's a beginning, one you walk into with eyes open, heart grounded, and mind steady.
You love them. You laugh together. They text you good morning. They make you feel wanted. But is that enough? One of my closest friends once told me, if we're happy now, isn't that all that matters? Fast forward a year, they broke off the engagement. Turns out, being in love didn't mean they were aligned in how they handle stress, money, or even life goals. That's when I realized we overvalue chemistry and undervalue character. So if love isn't enough, what is? Marriage isn't a photo shoot. It's a long, winding road, and you'd better like the person sitting next to you when the GPS fails. Today, we're getting clear about something huge. What should I really be looking for in a life partner? My sister got engaged at 29 after dating a guy for a year. They clicked immediately. Same humor, good looks, shared friend groups. It was all exciting. But 2 months into planning the wedding, she hit a wall.
Turns out he had zero financial boundaries, a habit of stonewalling in conflict, and a tendency to make big decisions without discussing them. He wasn't a bad person. He loved her. But she realized they were fundamentally different in how they saw life, especially when things got hard. She ended the engagement. It was brutal, but she told me later, that breakup saved me from marrying someone I enjoyed but couldn't truly build with. We've been trained to chase the spark, that magnetic chemistry, that pull, that dopamine high. But psychologist Dr. Scott Stanley warns, the early feelings of infatuation are not indicators of long-term compatibility. In fact, they can blind you to red flags. So what does matter? Let's talk about the 8 traits that define long-term partnership, not just romance. 8 essential qualities that actually matter in a life partner. Number 1, emotional regulation. Can they stay grounded when stressed? This isn't just about anger. It's about how they respond to pressure, whether they shut down or lash out, if they're self-aware about their triggers. Someone who can name their emotions and work through them is gold in marriage. Because life gets messy, and you need someone who can handle mess without making it worse. Number 2, conflict skills. Love is tested most when things go wrong. Do they listen when you disagree? Avoid defensiveness or blame. Take responsibility for their actions. Marriage expert John Gothman found that the way couples argue predicts their success better than almost anything else. Healthy conflict doesn't mean zero fights. It means fighting fair. Number 3, shared core values. This one is often skipped until it explodes later. Ask, do we agree on family roles? Kids versus no kids? Religion, politics, lifestyle? What does success mean to each of us? You can differ on hobbies, music, or food, but you need alignment on the big things. Otherwise, you'll keep running toward different futures. Number 4, growth mindset. Are they open to feedback? Do they work on themselves? Or do they stay stuck in patterns and blame others? A growth mindset means they see challenges as opportunities, not threats. If someone thinks they've already arrived, that's a red flag. Marriage isn't static. You grow together or grow apart. Number 5, dependability. Do they do what they say they'll do? Can you count on them when you are not okay? This one seems basic, but it's often overlooked. A dependable partner is on time, follows through, stays consistent even when it's inconvenient. They're not always the most charming, but they're the ones who show up when it matters most. Number 6, respect for your individuality. Do they encourage your personal growth? A healthy partner doesn't want to absorb you. They support your friends, your career, your interests, your space. They're not threatened by your independence. They celebrate it. Number 7, humility. Can they say, I was wrong? Do they learn from mistakes? Humility is underrated. It allows for repair, forgiveness, and connection. No one is perfect, but someone who's willing to evolve, that's priceless. And number 8, compatible communication style. Even if you love each other, if you communicate differently, it causes chaos. Think about, do they process things internally or out loud? Are they emotionally expressive or reserved? Do you feel heard or just solved? It's not about having identical styles, but about learning each other's language. That's what makes conflict easier and connection deeper. I used to think the one was someone who gave me butterflies. Now, I think the one is someone I can build calm with. Someone I trust in hard moments. Someone who wants the same kind of life. Someone who respects me enough to grow and grow with me. And yes, maybe we'll still laugh until 2 a.m., binge crime shows, and kiss in the kitchen. But I'll take depth over spark, character over charisma, and peace over drama any day.
People love to say, you'll just know when it's the right time. But what if you don't? What if your timeline doesn't match your culture's, or your friends', or your parents' expectations? I've seen people marry at 23 and thrive. I've seen others wait until 35 and still feel lost. So I started asking myself, is there really a right time to get married? Or is that just something we say to feel better about rushing or waiting? Let's talk about it. In today's episode, we're tackling one of the biggest, messiest, most Googled questions around marriage. When is the right time to get married? We'll explore the psychology and science behind ideal timing, cultural pressure and how it shapes our choices, what age really says about marital success, why the right time has more to do with you than your birth certificate, and what I've learned from my brother, who got married too early and knew it. If you've ever felt behind, too young, or unsure about your timeline, this one's for you. My brother got married at 26. He was in love, and everyone around him said it was the perfect age. The wedding was beautiful, the photos were dreamy, but something always felt rushed. He later admitted, I wasn't ready. I just didn't want to lose her, and I didn't want to look like the guy who couldn't commit. Within the first year, it showed. He wasn't emotionally grounded yet. He still needed freedom to grow as a person, and the expectations of marriage hit him like a wave he hadn't trained for. They made it work eventually, but the first 2 years, they were rough. It taught me this: marriage isn't a race, and age isn't always the green light we think it is. The best age to marry, what science says. There's actual research on this. Sociologist Dr. Nicholas Wolfinger found that people who marry between 25 and 32 have the lowest risk of divorce. Too early, under 25, and you might not be fully developed emotionally or financially. Too late, after 35, and you might get more set in your ways or compromise less. But here's the catch. Correlation isn't causation. Plenty of people outside this range have amazing marriages, and plenty inside it fall apart. The key isn't age, it's readiness, which we talked about in episode 1. In some cultures, marriage before 30 is the expectation. In others, you're weird if you marry before building a career, traveling, or living alone. And then there's family pressure. I've had relatives say, "You're not getting any older. Don't be too picky. People won't wait forever." At first, I took it personally. Then I realized they're not commenting on me, they're reacting to their own beliefs and fears. When you feel pressured to marry just because it's time, you're borrowing someone else's clock, and you'll always feel late. Let's take age off the table for a second. Ask yourself these instead. Do I understand what a real marriage requires? Have I built a strong identity outside of a relationship? Do I have a clear understanding of what I want in a partner and what I bring to the table? Have I dealt with any emotional wounds or patterns that might affect my future relationship? Am I choosing this person because I truly align with them, or because I'm afraid to start over? If your answers are yes, your age doesn't matter. If your answers are no, then even the perfect age won't protect you. The 3 types of timing. There's no universal right age, but there are types of timing to consider. 1. Psychological timing. Are you emotionally mature? Can you handle stress, boredom, and responsibility without breaking down or blaming others? Can you regulate your emotions instead of projecting them? Marriage requires psychological strength, not perfection, but self-awareness. 2. Life timing. Are you at a stable enough place in your life to take on this commitment? It doesn't mean you need a house, a car, and 6 figures in the bank, but ask, do I have a basic routine that I'm proud of? Am I managing my finances responsibly? Can I support someone emotionally and let them support me? If you're still in chaos mode, it might not be time yet. 3. Relationship timing. Has your relationship matured? You're not just marrying a person, you're marrying your dynamic with them. Ask, have we navigated a hard season together? Have we disagreed and come out stronger? Do we have shared vision, not just shared hobbies? If the relationship hasn't been tested, it's not ready for marriage, no matter how great the honeymoon phase feels. I'm not married, I'm not engaged, and honestly, I'm not in a hurry, because I don't want to marry out of fear. Fear of time passing, fear of being alone, fear of missing out. I want to marry when I've grown enough to love well, I've healed enough to build safe space, I've chosen someone not because they fit a deadline, but because they fit me. Maybe that'll be in my late 20s, maybe early 30s, maybe later, but when it happens, it'll be mine.
Here's something nobody tells you. The questions you don't ask before marriage will become the problems you can't avoid after it. It's easy to talk about travel plans, favorite foods, and where you'd want to live. But what about how you'll handle money? What you both believe about gender roles? How your childhood wounds will show up under pressure? These aren't sexy conversations. They're uncomfortable, sometimes awkward, but they're the ones that build or break a marriage. Today, we're diving into the questions that most couples avoid but absolutely shouldn't. We'll cover 10 uncomfortable but essential questions every couple should ask, why couples skip them and why it backfires, a real story from my friend who ignored a major red flag and paid for it later, plus how to ask these questions without making things weird. This episode is for anyone who wants to stop pretending love is enough and start preparing for what's actually coming. One of my closest friends got married last year. They were great together, laughed a lot, supported each other, had chemistry, shared values. But there was one thing they never really talked about: kids. She assumed they'd have 2. He assumed they'd have none. They didn't argue about it, they just never brought it up until a few months after the wedding. And when the topic finally surfaced, it exploded. He said, "I've never wanted kids. I thought you knew." She said, "I just figured you'd change your mind." They're still trying to figure it out, but that one conversation, delayed for too long, shattered the peace they thought they had. There are a few reasons we skip the big conversations. We don't want to ruin the vibe. We think we already know the answers. We assume love will figure it out. Or we're scared of what we'll hear. But psychologist Dr. Alexandra Solomon says something powerful. Avoiding a hard truth before marriage won't make it easier after marriage. It just delays the pain. Asking hard questions now won't destroy your relationship. They'll protect it. Let's go through them. 10 questions to ask before marriage, no matter how awkward. 1. Do we want kids? How many and when? This one's obvious but often skipped. Don't just ask if they want kids. Ask, what age range feels right? How do you feel about adoption or fertility issues? Who's doing the caregiving? What values do you want to raise kids with? 2. How do we handle money together and individually? Money is one of the top reasons couples argue. You need to know, are we spenders or savers? Will we combine finances or keep them separate? Who's responsible for bills, investments, budgeting? Even if things are fine now, habits under pressure matter more than spreadsheets. 3. How do we handle conflict? When we disagree, do we shut down or blow up? Do we use silent treatment? How do we repair? Dr. John Gottman calls this conflict-style compatibility. If you both escalate, it's dangerous. If one avoids and the other chases, you'll burn out. 4. What role does extended family play in our life? This one sneaks up. You need to talk about boundaries with in-laws.
expectations for holidays, finances, living proximity. How much influence do parents have over big decisions? Marriage is two people, but family always shows up at the table. 5. What are our religious or spiritual beliefs, and how will they affect our life? Even if you respect each other's beliefs, ask, how important is religion in our daily life? What about children's upbringing? Will faith guide financial, moral, or lifestyle decisions? Don't assume agreement, clarify it. 6. What are our expectations for gender roles and household responsibilities? This one matters more than you think. Who cooks? Who cleans? Who works full-time? How do we divide emotional labor? Unspoken assumptions about who does what cause resentment fast. 7. What's your history with emotional or relational trauma? You don't need every detail, but you do need transparency. Have you been in therapy? Are there wounds we should work through before we build something new? How do your past experiences affect trust, intimacy, or boundaries? Marriage doesn't heal you, but awareness can prevent re-injury. 8. How do we manage privacy and independence in marriage? What does privacy mean to each of you? Passwords? Personal time? Space? Do you need time alone to recharge? How do we stay connected without suffocating each other? 9. What are your career goals, and how do they affect the relationship? Ask, are you willing to relocate? Will long work hours or travel be part of your life? How do we balance ambition and time together? Marriage requires alignment on what success looks like and how much it costs. 10. What happens if we drift apart emotionally? Every marriage hits dry spells. What then? Will we go to therapy? Are we committed to repair, or do we avoid? What does giving up look like, and how do we fight for us? It's not about planning failure. It's about planning to protect love when it's tested. How to ask without making it weird. Here's the trick. Don't ask all 10 in one intense sit-down. Instead, spread them out over dinner, walks, casual weekends. Use phrases like, I've been thinking about something lately. Or, can I ask you a weird but important question? Or, this might feel serious, but I think it'll help us grow. Let it feel human, not like an interrogation. Watching my friends go through this, I've made a quiet promise to myself. Whenever I feel ready to marry someone, I'll ask the awkward stuff. I won't just fall in love with who they are. I'll understand how we'll live, disagree, compromise, and rebuild. And I won't wait until we're serious, because by the time you think it's too serious to ask, it's probably too late to fix.
I love him, but I don't know if we're compatible. I've heard that sentence more times than I can count. From friends, from cousins, even in movies. It's the classic dilemma. You feel everything with them. Butterflies, excitement, intense connection. But deep down, something feels off. Like you're always trying to make it work, instead of just living together naturally. So what gives? Can you love someone deeply and still not be right for each other? Today, we're unpacking one of the most confusing, heart-heavy questions in modern relationships. What's the difference between love and compatibility, and why do you need both? In this episode, we're diving into the psychological difference between love and compatibility, why love alone isn't always enough for long-term success, what to watch out for in the honeymoon trap, how to measure compatibility without killing the romance, and a story about my friend who chose chemistry over compatibility and why she regrets it. If you're in a relationship and wondering, is this love enough to last? This one's for you. One of my closest friends dated a guy who was pure magic. He made her laugh, they stayed up talking for hours, their connection was electric, even strangers noticed. But they clashed constantly. He needed space to recharge, she needed constant closeness. He avoided conflict, she needed resolution. He wanted to move abroad, she wanted to stay close to family. Still, she stayed because she loved him. She kept thinking, if we love each other enough, we'll figure it out. But the friction never eased. Instead, it drained her. Eventually, they broke up, and she told me something I'll never forget. He felt like my person, but being with him felt like walking uphill every single day. The psychology, love versus compatibility. Let's break this down with what research tells us. Love equals emotional bond. Psychologists define love as emotional attachment, romantic or physical attraction, deep care and vulnerability, a sense of us. Love creates glue. It keeps you together during hard times. It makes you want to protect each other. But here's the thing. Love is not a strategy. It doesn't solve lifestyle gaps or value conflicts. Compatibility equals functional alignment. Compatibility, on the other hand, is shared values, aligned goals, emotional needs that complement each other, communication and lifestyle rhythm that works. It's less dramatic, less sparkly, but it creates ease. As Esther Perel puts it, compatibility makes love sustainable. Love makes compatibility meaningful. You need both. The honeymoon trap. Early love can trick you. That first 6 to 12 months, dopamine and oxytocin are flooding your brain. You overlook flaws. You assume they'll change. You tell yourself, we'll figure it out. This tension is normal. Every couple has issues. True. But if the core mismatch stays after the honeymoon, love becomes a bandage, not a bond. 6 signs of compatibility that matter more than spark. 1. You feel emotionally safe, not just excited. Love often feels intense, but compatibility feels safe. Ask yourself, can I be fully myself without fear? Do we resolve conflict without emotional chaos? Can we sit in silence and still feel connected? Excitement fades, safety builds. 2. You agree on the big picture. Do you align on family, career ambition, location, finances, faith, children? You don't need the same hobbies, you need the same direction. 3. You complement each other's needs, not clash. It's not about being the same. It's about this. If one is highly sensitive, is the other emotionally aware? If one is ambitious, is the other supportive, not threatened? If one needs space, is the other not overly anxious? Compatibility is the rhythm between your differences. 4. Conflict doesn't escalate, it evolves. Do you fight? Sure. But do you fight fairly? Do you grow from conflict? Do you learn each other better afterward? Love without compatible communication equals emotional landmines. 5. You share a similar pace in life. Some people move fast, others slow. Do you both value adventure or one needs structure? Do you both want to hustle or one dreams of a quiet life? Mismatched pace causes resentment over time, even if the love is real. 6. You make each other's life lighter, not heavier. At the end of the day, do they make your life feel easier or more complicated? Compatible relationships reduce anxiety, support your goals, don't feel like work 24/7. Love without ease often turns into exhaustion. When I was younger, I used to crave butterflies. I thought if I didn't feel obsessed, it wasn't love. Now, I look for someone who makes life feel more grounded, not more chaotic. Someone I like spending regular days with. Someone who meets my needs even when the spark dims. Someone who doesn't make me question my worth. I want to feel loved and understood, romantic and relaxed, excited and at peace. Because I've seen too many people burn out in relationships where love was real but not enough. And I've realized love starts the fire, compatibility keeps it burning.
They didn't start as deal breakers, just little things, like how he'd joke about her opinions, or how she'd ignore his boundaries and call it just being honest. At the time, it felt small. Now, They're divorced. What went wrong? They ignored the signs. The ones we call quirks in the beginning and red flags when it's too late. My cousins got married at 24. He was charming, successful, and generous. But even before the wedding, there were signs. He'd disappear for hours and say she was too clingy when she asked. He made jokes about women needing to stay in their place. He'd get moody and everyone had to adjust around him. She told me once, "I see it, but he's just stressed, and I can handle strong personalities." 2 years in, she couldn't. He was controlling, emotionally cold, and made every conflict her fault. They're separated now. She told me something I won't forget. The red flags weren't hidden. I just kept explaining them away. What are red flags really? Let's clarify. Red flags aren't imperfections. Everyone has those. Red flags are behaviors or attitudes that violate your safety, values, or peace consistently. They aren't, he likes pineapple on pizza. She's not into your favorite band. They're bad at texting. They're emotional manipulation, controlling behavior, lack of respect, empathy, or responsibility. And they're always there early, but often disguised. Why we ignore them? Here's the psychological truth. Our brains are wired to seek comfort, and red flags threaten that. So we rationalize, like he didn't mean it that way. We blame ourselves, like maybe I'm too sensitive. We focus on potential instead of reality, like she could change. Or we compare to worse situations, like at least he doesn't cheat. Psychologist Dr. Ramani Darvasula calls this narcissistic conditioning. We get so used to justifying harmful behavior that we can't see how far we've slipped. 10 early red flags that deserve your attention. 1. They guilt you for having boundaries. If you say, "I need space," or "that made me uncomfortable," and they respond with guilt trips, anger, or withdrawal, pay attention. Healthy partners respect boundaries, not punish them. 2. You always feel like you're walking on eggs. If you're constantly second-guessing what to say, when to text, or how to act, that's not being considerate. That's fear. And fear in a relationship isn't love, it's survival mode. 3. They criticize your friends or family too early. It starts subtle. Your friends are kind of immature. Your mom's controlling, don't you think? Soon, you're isolated. Cutting you off from your support system is a classic control tactic. 4. They avoid responsibility in conflict. If every disagreement ends with, "You're overreacting," "That's just how I am," or "You're too emotional," they're not resolving the issue, they're dodging it. That's not communication, that's gaslighting. 5. They rush the relationship unnaturally. Love bombing is real. If someone pushes commitment, talks about marriage on date 2, or makes you feel like they're your entire world too fast, that's a red flag. Real love grows, it doesn't steamroll. 6. They show inconsistency between words and actions. They say they'll call, but they don't. They say you matter, but disappear when you need them. Inconsistency isn't forgetfulness, it's disrespect. 7. They joke about hurtful things and blame you for feeling hurt. It was just a joke. You're too sensitive. If their jokes always target your insecurities and they never apologize, they're not funny. They're emotionally immature. 8. They need to win every argument. Disagreements turn into battles. They raise their voice, talk over you, or twist your words. This isn't passion, it's ego. 9. They constantly undermine your confidence. Subtle digs, backhanded compliments, comparisons to their ex. If someone's love lowers your self-worth, it's not love, it's power play. And 10. You feel anxious more than you feel safe. This is the biggest one. Love isn't supposed to make you sick to your stomach, or drain you, or make you question your worth daily. The right person brings peace, not confusion. What I've learned and how I listen now. I used to see red flags and call them yellow. I'd say, he's just intense. She's had a hard past. It's not a big deal. No, I pay attention to how people make me feel, not just what they say. I ask myself, do I feel safe to express myself? Do I feel seen, heard, and respected? Do I trust this person in silence, not just in sweetness? Because red flags don't disappear in marriage, they get amplified. And I'd rather walk away early than spend years trying to fix what I never broke.
I just haven't met the one yet. That's what most people say when they're single or unsure about their current relationship. We love the idea of the one, the perfect person made just for us. It feels romantic, destined, like a soulmate wrapped in stardust, just waiting to collide with us at the perfect moment. But here's what I've been wondering lately. What if there isn't just one right person? What if love isn't found, but built? Let's challenge the soulmate myth and get real about how lasting love actually works. In today's episode, we'll unpack where the idea of the one came from, the psychology behind soulmate thinking and its dangers, what real compatibility looks like, spoiler, it's not fate, and to how the healthiest couples choose each other daily. And a story from my sister who thought she found the one but realized she was chasing an idea. My sister met him at a wedding. He was funny, kind, had deep eyes that seemed to look into your soul. She told me after their first date, "This is it. He's the one. I've never felt this before." They clicked instantly. Same tastes, same goals. It felt cosmic. But 6 months in, reality showed up. He had no interest in emotional conversations. He was avoidant, shut down during hard moments. He treated her well, but kept her at arm's length when things got serious. She kept holding on, telling herself, "But he's the one. I felt it." They lasted almost 2 years. But in the end, love wasn't enough. And destiny didn't help with communication, conflict, or commitment. She learned the hard way. Feeling something powerful doesn't always mean it's permanent. The origin of the one and how it messes us up. The concept of the one comes from Greek mythology. According to Plato, humans were once whole, two souls fused together, but the gods split us in half. Now we spend our life searching for our other half. Sounds poetic, right? But here's the problem. It assumes there's only one person for you. It romanticizes love as fate, not a choice, and it creates pressure. What if you miss them? What if you mess it up? Psychologist Dr. Gary Lewandowski says soulmate thinking can be dangerous. It can lead to unrealistic expectations, avoidance of working through problems, and a tendency to give up when things aren't perfect. Because if they were the one, wouldn't it be easy? But real love isn't magic. It's maintenance. Why soulmate thinking can hurt you. 1, you might overlook great people. If you're always hunting for fireworks and fate, you might ignore someone amazing just because they didn't wow you instantly. Love often starts quietly. Compatibility builds over time. 2, you stay too long in the wrong relationship. If you believe you already found the one, you'll cling to it, even when it's painful. You'll ignore red flags, overstay, and sacrifice your peace in the name of destiny.
3, you fear making the wrong choice. You'll constantly second-guess yourself. What if someone better is still out there? What if I choose wrong and ruin my life? But love is not a one-shot game. It's not about finding the perfect person. It's about building a strong relationship with a real, imperfect human. Real love is two choosing people. Here's what healthy psychologists and long-married couples agree on. The one is the person you choose and who chooses you again and again. You need shared values, commitment to growth, emotional safety, and mutual effort even when things aren't magical. As author Mark Manson says, love isn't something you find, it's something you do. 4 signs you're building real love, not just chasing a feeling. 1, you're not addicted to the highs, you're comfortable in the lows. The healthiest relationships don't feel like roller coasters. They feel like home. You still have passion, but without the emotional whiplash. 2, you have conflict, but you resolve it together. With the one, you won't always agree, but you'll fight with each other, not against each other. You grow stronger after hard conversations, not distant. 3, you choose them even on boring Tuesdays. Love isn't built on grand gestures. It's built on grocery runs, shared chores, sitting quietly together. If the small things feel good, you're onto something real. 4, you're both growing without losing yourselves. A healthy relationship doesn't shrink you. It expands both people. You support each other's goals, healing, faith, family. You become better people, not just better partners. I used to wait for the one like he'd show up with a sign. Now, I believe in many possible ones, but only a few will be ready at the same time, want the same things, have the maturity and patience to do the hard work with you. And when that person shows up, I won't need a lightning bolt. I'll need clarity, because I'm not waiting for magic. I'm waiting for someone who chooses me with intention, not just infatuation.
When people talk about lasting marriages, they usually mention the big stuff. Communication, trust, loyalty, love. But here's the strange thing I've noticed. Some couples check every box and still fall apart. And others, who seem totally different, somehow make it work for decades. So what's actually going on? What really makes a marriage last, especially after the honeymoon is over? Today, I'm sharing the things I've learned from couples who've been married 10, 20, even 40 plus years, and the quiet, powerful habits they rarely talk about, but that hold everything together. In this episode, we'll dive into 7 underrated traits that keep marriages strong over time, real-life observations from long-married couples in my family, psychological research behind relationship longevity, and why love alone won't be enough unless it's backed by these lesser-known habits. If you're dreaming of a marriage that lasts, not just survives, but grows, this episode is your foundation. My aunt and uncle have been married for over 35 years. At first glance, they're nothing alike. She's loud, fiery, emotional. He's quiet, steady, and rarely raises his voice. They tease each other all the time. They argue, they bicker about groceries and directions and furniture. But here's the thing. Every time something big happens, illness, job loss, family drama, they lock in like teammates. They don't fall apart. They fall together. And when I asked them recently what's kept their marriage strong all these years, my uncle just smiled and said, "We don't try to win, we try to understand." That hit me. Because it's not the romantic quotes or candlelight dinners. It's the quiet choices they make every day. Psychologist Dr. John Gottman has studied married couples for over 40 years. He can predict with over 90% accuracy whether a couple will stay together just by watching how they interact for 15 minutes. His conclusion? It's not how much you love each other, it's how you handle the unlovable moments. And the couples that last long-term, they share a specific set of traits, most of which nobody talks about when dating. Let's go through them. 7 underrated things that make marriages last. 1. They fight, but fight fairly. Every couple argues. The key is how they do it. Lasting couples don't call each other names. Don't bring up past mistakes just to hurt. Don't turn disagreements into power plays. They argue with the goal of resolution, not revenge. And they repair after conflict through hugs, apologies, or even humor. As Dr. Gottman puts it, repair is the secret weapon of emotionally intelligent couples. 2. They admire each other out loud. Over time, admiration fades unless it's expressed. Long-term couples say things like, "Thank you for making dinner." "I love how patient you are." "You were right about that decision. Good call." Small, specific compliments create emotional deposits. They're the love notes of everyday life. 3. They create shared rituals. It sounds simple, but shared routines create bonding. Things like Sunday morning walks, watching one show together every night, monthly us time without distractions. These small habits build connection even when life gets chaotic. One couple I know has a ritual of drinking chai together at 5 p.m. every single day, no matter what. It's their anchor. 4. They give each other space. Love doesn't mean being glued together. Lasting couples know how to let each other recharge, support solo hobbies, respect me time without insecurity. As one husband told me, we don't lose each other in marriage. We protect each other's individuality. 5. They laugh a lot. It sounds basic, but laughter is a glue. Shared humor makes hard seasons bearable. In one study by the University of Kansas, couples who laughed together were significantly more satisfied in their relationships even if they argued frequently. Humor equals resilience. It's not about jokes. It's about lightness. 6. They assume good intentions. This one changed how I view relationships entirely. When their partner messes up, lasting spouses don't immediately assume malice. They say things like, "Maybe he's overwhelmed, not ignoring me. Maybe she forgot, not because she doesn't care, but because she's stressed." This mindset prevents so many unnecessary fights. It builds trust by default, not suspicion. 7. They stay curious about each other. Here's something most couples forget. Your partner isn't the same person year after year. They change. They grow. Their dreams evolve. The couples that last, they keep asking questions. What's something you're excited about this month? Is there anything you've been missing lately? How can I show up for you better this week? It's romantic, but it's also practical, because curiosity keeps the connection alive. After watching the quiet strength in so many long-term marriages, I realized something. I used to think forever love was about magic. Now, I believe it's about maintenance. I'll look for someone who can apologize sincerely, communicate without blame, be silly and kind and consistent, and handle boredom and stress without breaking the bond. Because weddings are one day, but marriage is every day. And it's not the big moments that make it last. It's the small decisions made over and over again when nobody's watching.
You've probably heard this before. When you know, you just know. And honestly, sometimes that's true. But sometimes it's not knowing. It's being caught in emotion, hormones, hope, and pressure. I've seen friends and relatives go from first date to wedding plans in 3 months. Fast, intense, romantic. But most of those stories ended in heartbreak or quiet resentment. Today, we're talking about what happens when you rush into marriage, even when the love feels real, even when the connection feels cosmic. Because being in love is beautiful, but staying in love, that takes time, wisdom, and patience. In this episode, we'll explore why rushing marriage is so common and tempting, the psychology behind emotional speed, 6 hidden dangers of rushing into commitment, how to slow down without losing momentum, and a story from my brother, whose fast-track love story taught me exactly what to watch out for. This episode isn't anti-marriage, it's pro-healthy timing. My brother met her at a work seminar. They started talking, texting, calling late into the night. Within a month, they were inseparable. Within 2, they were engaged. He was glowing. She was confident. We were all cautiously supportive, but also wondering, why the rush? 3 months into marriage, cracks appeared. They had completely different ideas about money. Their conflict styles clashed. She shut down. He escalated. She wanted to move abroad. He wanted to stay close to family. It wasn't a lack of love. It was a lack of understanding. As he later said, "We married the version of each other from the honeymoon phase, but we didn't know how to handle the real stuff." They're divorced now. Still respectful, but regretful. That story stays with me. Why do people rush into marriage? The reasons make sense emotionally. Intense infatuation. Dopamine and oxytocin create a euphoric high. You feel like you found your soulmate. Everything feels aligned. Fear of losing the person. If I wait too long, they'll leave. Someone else might come along. Social or family pressure, especially in cultures where early marriage is expected, or where long relationships without marriage are frowned upon. Escaping loneliness or pain. You're not just running towards love, but away from something else. But neuroscience tells us, during the early stages of love, your brain is chemically altered. It can take 12 to 18 months for that emotional fog to lift, and that's when you start to really see the person. 6 reasons rushing marriage is risky. 1. You don't truly know their conflict style. Anyone can be sweet during the honeymoon phase. But what happens when they're stressed? You disagree on something important. Boundaries are crossed. If you've never seen how they handle real tension, you're committing to someone you don't fully understand. 2. You might mistake chemistry for compatibility. Strong attraction is not a sustainable relationship. You need to know, do we share values? Can we talk through tough stuff? Do we have similar visions for the future? Chemistry is the spark. Compatibility is the fuel. 3. You may overlook red flags. Fast love often makes you excuse things you'd normally question. He just has a temper, but he's working on it. She's a little possessive, but that means she cares. Time reveals character. The longer you observe, the clearer things become. 4. You skip crucial conversations. Many rushed couples avoid deep talks about finances, children, career goals, religion and values, extended family expectations. They assume love will figure it all out. Spoiler, it won't. 5. You don't see them in different seasons. Everyone is on their best behavior for the first few months. But have you seen them when they're overwhelmed? Things don't go their way. They're around their family. Time shows you who someone really is, not just who they present as. 6. You might not know what you want yet. When you rush, you might be unclear on your own needs and boundaries. Marriage won't clarify that for you. It only magnifies what's unresolved. Knowing yourself first, choosing wisely later. How to slow down without losing the spark. 1. Set a healthy timeline. This doesn't mean years of waiting. It means giving yourselves enough time to move through the initial excitement, real conversations, observing each other under pressure, meeting and engaging with each other's families or communities. Even 9 to 12 months of intentional dating can make a huge difference. 2. Use checkpoints, not just chemistry. Have regular relationship check-ins where you ask, are we growing closer or just staying infatuated? Have we handled a disagreement maturely yet? Are our goals still aligned? Let logic and observation guide you alongside love. 3. Talk about the tough topics early. Don't wait until engagement to ask, what's your view on money and spending? What are your expectations for marriage rules? How do you feel about children? It's not too serious, it's responsible. 4. Get outside perspectives. Your inner circle often sees what you can't see. Ask your trusted friends and mentors, what do you observe about us? Do you see any blind spots? Their feedback might save you from a future you'd regret. I used to think fast love was brave. Now I think it's sometimes a bit afraid. Afraid of losing the feeling. Afraid of asking the hard questions. Afraid of sitting with uncertainty. But lasting love isn't afraid of time. It welcomes it. Because when it's real, there's no rush. Only depth and steady commitment, built layer by layer. I'm not waiting for perfect, but I'm done confusing passion with preparation.
Being in love is easy. Feeling excited about marriage? Also easy. But being ready, that's a different story. Because here's what no one tells you. Love can blind you, but readiness clears your vision. I've seen people walk down the aisle filled with butterflies and walk out months later with broken hearts. They loved each other, but they weren't ready for what marriage actually demands. So let's talk about what readiness really looks like. Not in theory, but in real life. In this final episode of the Marriage Prep series, we'll explore the difference between wanting marriage and being ready for it, 6 signs you're emotionally, mentally, and relationally prepared, common false starts and why they happen, and a story from my cousin who postponed her wedding just weeks before and is now grateful she did. If you're asking yourself, am I truly ready? This one's for you. Let's get honest, with love. My cousin Sarah had everything planned. Wedding date set, venue booked, dress was hanging in her closet. But one night over dinner, she told me quietly, I don't think I'm ready. Not because I don't love him, but because I haven't finished becoming me. She wasn't scared of him. She was scared of losing herself too early. She called off the wedding, not the relationship. They both agreed to take a step back, go to counseling, and grow separately and together. Fast forward 2 years, they got married. Stronger, wiser, calmer. She told me, postponing wasn't weakness. It was respect for myself and for him. Let's bust a myth. You don't need to be perfect to get married. You don't need to have all your issues solved, your past healed, or your life fully figured out. But you do need to be ready in the key areas. Psychologists agree that successful marriages have more to do with personal maturity than compatibility alone. The most important person you marry is yourself at that moment in time. By Dr. Alexandra Solomon, therapist and marriage researcher. Let's explore what actual readiness looks like. 6 signs you're ready for marriage. Number 1, you know who you are and who you're becoming. You don't need to have your dream job or ultimate confidence, but you do need self-awareness, a clear sense of your values, a growing understanding of your patterns, wounds, and strengths. When you know yourself, you stop expecting your partner to complete you. Instead, they complement your growth. Number 2, You've learned how to do conflict well. Not avoid it, not win it, but do it well. That means listening instead of reacting, taking responsibility for your part, speaking with honesty and kindness, repairing quickly, not holding grudges. Because love doesn't eliminate conflict. It teaches you how to handle it without destroying each other. Number 3, you're willing to prioritize the relationship even when it's inconvenient. Marriage is going to ask you to show up when you're tired, communicate when you'd rather shut down, choose unity over ego, and be there when it's uncomfortable. If you're still clinging to me first, marriage might feel like a constant battle. Readiness sounds like we're a team and I'm ready to think like one. Number 4, you've had the important conversations and survived them. Before marriage, you should already have real talks about finances, faith, family boundaries, children, long-term goals, mental health and emotional needs, past relationships or traumas. Avoiding these doesn't protect the relationship. It weakens it. Being ready means you faced these topics together and built trust by telling the truth. Number 5, you're not marrying to escape something. This one's big. You shouldn't get married because you're lonely, you're bored, you're trying to prove something, everyone else is doing it, or you're scared to start over. Marriage built on fear will always feel fragile. True readiness comes from abundance, not desperation. Number 6, you're committed to growing after the wedding. The real work begins after the vows. So ask yourself, am I ready to stay curious about my partner for years to come? Am I open to feedback, even when it hurts? Am I prepared for seasons where it doesn't feel romantic or exciting? Readiness isn't just about the wedding. It's about your willingness to work when things aren't easy. Signs you might need more time. You still feel like you're hiding parts of yourself. You haven't seen your partner in seasons of stress or failure. You can't answer key questions about your shared future. Your gut is uneasy and you keep trying to silence it. One or both of you avoids conflict or tough conversations. You're afraid to slow down even though something feels rushed. Here's the truth. Pausing doesn't mean quitting. Waiting doesn't mean wasting time. Sometimes love needs space to mature before it becomes something sustainable. For a long time, I thought marriage was about finding someone who gets me. But now, I think it's about becoming someone who knows herself well enough to choose wisely and love well. I'm not waiting for perfect. I'm waiting for peace. The kind of peace that says, we've done the work. We faced the hard stuff. We're ready to grow together, not just get excited together. And when that time comes, I won't need fireworks. I'll know because I'll feel calm. And calm is underrated. What's one thing you think defines real marriage readiness? Or what's something you've seen people overlook that came back to haunt them? Let's make this comment section a space of wisdom.